Today we have a 2006 Nissan Xtrail with a 2.5 and we're going to do another timing chain. I've got the belt off and the apron out and I'm going to start pulling the pulley off and then we'll get the timing chain cover off for you. Thanks. Okay, back at work at the Nissan Xtrail 2.5 and we've got the motor mount out. And I got some of the bolts off the top timing cover out. Wires unhooked from the VVT sensor solenoid. And we've got a couple more ground wires to take off. And then we can pull this top cover off and then work on the bottom. One advantage of taking the engine mount out, not only just because you need it to get parts out of the way, but when you need to get at a bolt you can't reach, you can raise and lower the engine accordingly. So right now, I can't get at one of the bolts, so I'm going to just raise the engine up a bit. And now I can get at everything nice and easy. One of the time meters here on this thing is definitely the engine mount bracket that bolts to the front of the timing cover. It's got a lot of bolts that are hard to get at. So you also had to undo the power steering pump and move it out of the way at the back so that we can get at all the rest of the bolts on the timing cover and get the timing cover out of here nice and neat. So we've got everything unbolted here. I'll pull this mount out. See, these lower bolts are the ones that are kind of hard to get at. And but now that's all out. And we can resume pulling the rest of the timing cover bolts out. And then I have to pull the oil pan off to get the bottom two bolts underneath the timing cover that go up into the girdle. Okay, I got the timing cover off. It was extremely hard. We had to pull the girdle off the bottom of the engine. And I had to pull the exhaust out and suspend the engine from the top. Definitely one of the most time-consuming timing chains there is to do. And one problem is these cars are pretty rare. They were a good little car for Nissan in the day, I have to admit. They're one of the very first all-wheel drive SUVs, small, compact ones, and they did fairly well. Hard to get parts for, that's a thing. And repairs are generally pretty expensive. But anyways, and now I see why. This thing is a labor pig. But I have a bucket full fasteners there. There's a bucket full over on the other table. And we have pieces off. So anywho, the timing chain itself, pretty straightforward. Here's the balance shaft as it sits. I'll move this chain out of the way so you can see the timing mark there. Lines up with the dot on the block with the orange tab on the chain. And the yellow tab on the chain is on the bottom of the gear that's inside the tensioner. And then you know that that's lined up when that mark is lined up with that. So that's that. And then next I'm going to pull the chain off the cam gears. We'll line those up properly and set that up and put the tensioner in, and I'll show you everything. All right, cleaning up the gasket surfaces here prior to cleaning and then putting all the new chain on. People ask for a little more detail in some of my videos. I keep them short because I don't know how many people want to watch bolts getting turned. They just want to see how you get the difficult parts off, how you line up the marks, stuff like that, little tips and tricks maybe. So then one of the things for cleaning up the gasket surfaces, because these don't just use gaskets, they use RTV in the groove that's in the girdle pan there. And then it seals up to the block. So one of the tricks that I've used over the years is just take a razor blade and run it on its edge, like straight up and down like this. And just run it like that. And that cleans it up really quick and easy. Stuff like that. And then afterwards follow it with some brake clean and a paper towel and it'll be spick and span. Okay, setting up the timing chain on the Xtrail, and my handy dandy piece of foam pipe insulation holding the chain on its timing mark there. And that'll hold it there while I route it around the top gears. I got to say top gear. Okay, so we got one timing link, the dark one, on that mark. And now we gotta put the other timing link on that mark right there. I gotta need both hands, so I'm gonna try and prop this up. Okay, we got this one on there, this one on there. Now, when I install the tensioners, that'll take the slack out of the top of the chain and line everything back up, and I'll show you that. All right, I got the chain wrestled on there. A little tricky, had to line it up with a lot of slack in the top, and then as I added the guides, I added the static guide first. Then I put the tensioner guide in and rolled the tensioner in, put the back bolt in first and rolled it up, and then slid the inside bolt in, threaded them up, and everything's lined up. I'll just show you guys. So got that mark on there, that mark points to there, and that one's on there. And then if we go down to the bottom here, we've got the orange one for the balancer there, the pink or purple or fuchsia or whatever you want to call it for the main pulley right there, and can't see inside there, but there's another one that's lined up on the balancer. So now a guy can pull foam out. You can see a little better that we're lined up. Yep. And then we can pull the pin on the tensioner. There. It's live. It's good. Now I can get the front cover all cleaned up, and we'll RTV it and pop it on. Okay, I've got the oil pan, cross member, exhaust, all that stuff, the belt, engine mount, all that back in. It all seems to be working fairly nicely. Washed everything up. Checked it for leaks on the hoist, all good. I think the hardest things to keep mind of when doing one of these timing chains is the little O-rings. Inside the timing cover there's a bunch of O-rings for oil passages for the VTEC stuff, for the variable cam timing. You want to make sure that the filter and the O-rings all go back in their place where they belong. And well, use new ones of course also. Everything seems to run really nice. This was one of the harder ones just for laborious procedure, like so many bolts to take out, taking the oil pan off and all that stuff. But it worked out, everything's nice, and you can go back to the customer. Thanks for watching.